I remember the first day I noticed something was off about Bill. It wasn't just that he ignored instructions, that happened all the time. It was the way he did it. Like every request was a personal insult. His jaw would tighten, eyes narrow, and he'd mutter under his breath just loud enough for you to hear, but not loud enough to call him out. I work in a warehouse. Nothing glamorous, just long shifts, heavy lifting, and the constant hum of machinery. Most of us keep our heads down and get through the day. But Bill, he made it impossible to ignore him. Bill, you gotta stack those pallets by the dock, not in the aisle, I told him one afternoon, trying to keep my tone neutral. He didn't even look at me. I know what I'm doing. Except he didn't. Forklifts had to swerve around his mess, and the supervisor had already warned him twice that week. Still, Bill kept doing things his way, like the rules didn't apply to him. That same day, Joey stepped in. Joey was the opposite of Bill, easygoing, always cracking jokes, the kind of guy who made 10-hour shifts feel shorter. He walked over, hands on his hips, shaking his head. Man, you're gonna get someone hurt doing that, Joey said. Just move them like you're supposed to. Bill finally looked up, and I swear there was something in his eyes that made my stomach drop. Not anger exactly, something colder. Mind your business, Bill snapped. Joey laughed, thinking it was just Bill being Bill. It is my business when I gotta clean up your mess. That's when it escalated. Bill stepped closer, too close. I said, mind your business. The warehouse seemed to go quiet around them, like everyone felt it coming. Joey didn't back down, though. He never did. Or what? What happened next was fast. Bill shoved him. Joey shoved back. Tools clattered to the ground as they grappled, cursing, swinging wild punches. A couple of us rushed in and pulled them apart before it got worse, but the damage was already done. Both of them were breathing hard, faces red, eyes locked like neither of them was finished. The supervisor sent them home early. That night, I couldn't shake the image of Bill's face. Not during the fight, but after. When we pulled him back, he wasn't just angry. He looked focused, like something had clicked into place. The next morning, Joey didn't show up. At first, nobody thought much of it. Maybe he took a day off to cool down. Maybe he called in sick. But as the hours passed, people started asking questions. Anybody heard from Joey? Nope. Not answering his phone either. Then Bill came in late. That alone was strange. He was always early, like he had nothing better to do than be at work. But that morning, he walked in almost an hour after his shift started. And he looked wrong. His clothes were wrinkled, like he'd slept in them. His hair was unkempt, but it was his expression that got me. He wasn't angry, he wasn't even annoyed. He looked hollow. Rough night? I asked, trying to sound casual. He glanced at me for a split second, then looked away. Something like that. His hands were shaking slightly as he grabbed a clipboard. I noticed a faint stain on his sleeve, dark, almost brown. He kept tugging at it, like he knew it was there and couldn't stop thinking about it. All day, he barely spoke. No muttering, no arguing, no snapping back at instructions. He just worked in silence, slower than usual, like every movement took effort. It wasn't like him. Not at all. By the time my shift ended, the unease had settled deep in my chest. Something wasn't right, and I couldn't explain why. That night, I was sitting on my couch, half watching TV, half scrolling through my phone, when the news cut in. Breaking news tonight, local authorities are investigating a suspicious death. I wasn't really paying attention at first. Stuff like that happens all the time. But then they said the name. Joey. I froze. Found deceased in his home earlier today. Police have not released full details, but say the case is being treated as a possible homicide. The room felt suddenly too quiet, too small. They showed a photo of Joey, the same grin he always had at work, the same easygoing look. It didn't make sense. None of it did. My mind went straight back to the warehouse, to the fight, to Bill showing up late, looking like he hadn't slept, that strange stain on his sleeve, and that look in his eyes. I turned off the TV, but it didn't help. The silence was worse, because deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever happened to Joey, it didn't start at his house. It started at work. To be continued.